this is the third part of the video about the bride's homecoming pie, and previously explained about October as the month as the pie month, but right now, according to the first new moon, that delayed for around a month, and therefore the pie month of October, this identity would be equal to November, because the originally the first new moon of the starting Jewish New Year was supposed to be in September, but because it was delayed until October 14, and therefore now we can see that October is actually September and November is actually October and December is actually November. The reason that I say this, because normally the first new moon consists of like supposedly the first new moon, the month of September, got Elul and Tisri. And because the new moon, the first new moon, started on October, and therefore the identity of Elul and Tisri are going to October. And this is very interesting because now we can see the merging of 9/11 together, and this is a very important point, merging both September and November together, because now you can see October as September and November as it is, but also at the same time can also be seen as October. And as explained before, that 9 is 21 o'clock, 10 is 22 o'clock, 11 is 23 o'clock, and both these three numbers, when you add together, is 66, and that represents the 66 books of the Bible, and so that representing the end. But also number 22, that came from October, because that's 22 o'clock. And then coming back to Revelation 22, is that it's the last chapter of Revelation, last book of the Bible, and that represents the end of the end. And 22 o'clock, that identity is also given to November because of the delay of the first new moon. And therefore now we can see that November is actually at 22 o'clock. And so there's a reason why 9/11 are merged together for the sake of getting the Pentecostal relationship of the Tisri and September, and because September also consists of Elul, and that was Jewish June, and there you get the number 6 and a 9, and that actually echoes back to Matthew 27. But later, later I'll get onto that. But just wanted to explain more about this chart. So the relationship that 9/11 got is the relationship Tisri, because November or as in October, both of them do not have Elul and therefore now we only get the T3 relationship that can link with September, and also October T3 that's also November identity, and therefore we get the 9/11 relationship through T3. And so the other ones I wanted to discuss about the Rapture by Christ as well, and I believe it could be on December after the first call in November. And you can see that the 11/11 relationship, because December is can be seen as November, and so because once again because of the delay of the first new moon, and now we get a very interesting relationship. The Pentecostal number, a set of 4-7, and because I explained before that one is a 7 because of the T3. T3 is Jewish July, but it's also a Jewish New Year that starts is January. And later I'll explain this connection with the Song of Solomon chapter 2. But here, this is showing the Pentecostal relationship of November to December, which is referring to the transformations of the barley and wheat brats. And so this is very interesting to see, is confirming this. And another thing I wanted to say is the 50 minutes. So November is also October, and initially it was 55 minutes, but now it also is also a 50 minutes direction, because 10 o'clock points to 50 minutes direction, and the number 50 represents Pentecost. So this referring that November is the month of Pentecost, so called as the month of the transformation of the barley bride. But before getting the scriptures, I have another chart as well. So this chart I made is the Pentecostal boundary. So to explain why T3 is the very significant month, Jewish July, because it is only through this identity that you can referring back to the first and second Pentecost of this year. First Pentecost was on May 24 to 25. Second Pentecost was in June 23 to 24. And because T3 is not only running to October, which is November, but also September, and therefore because September consists of the Jewish June, and therefore we can see T3 as a June month, and T3 can also be seen as May, because according to the wheel, the November direction, like Gregorian November is Jewish August, like around that time, and because of this, you can see that you can refer back to August, Gregorian August, and it was Jewish May. And there's a relationship between these two because both consist of the August relationship, and therefore November to May, I could see that as May. And so the Pentecostal boundary would be from the 2nd of November to the 10th of November. And explain before the significance of using three calendars. And this is making wide a boundary. And I'm just going to say about the boundary because only the Father knows about the exact day and the hour, but we can know the season, and early November is the season, as the evidences are pointing to history. So now the boundary of 23 to 25, it would be expanded from 2nd to 10, and the I believe history 24 is very important because by Pentecost consists of the number 24, and therefore I highlighted in red. So for example, that the 9th of November is also history 24 because both consists of the same identity of history 26. And that's just an example of how to see the boundary. And once again, I previously explained about the 102 minutes that changed America. And this related back to the 9/11 attack that occurred in 2001. And initially I was pointing 102 as October Chispan, but now we can see November is as October, so that's still the same. And the number 2, because November Chispan, actually that Chispan is it's like the upper half of the month. And that also kept echoing back to history. That is also the upper part of the month of November. And but 102, this can also be seen as 12. And explained before, 1 and a 2 is a pi number. Pi is 3.141, and I explained before that initially October was a pi month because of history and Chispan, both of them were in that month, and history would be January and Chispan would be February, and so 1 o'clock direction is 13 o'clock, 2 o'clock direction will be 14 o'clock, so that makes us 3.141 when you read backwards in Hebrew's way. And so now the identity of the pi month gave it to November, and now November is a pi month because of the first new moon delay. So the number 12 is actually a pi. So I explained that pi decoded is also 9/11 by the dual alphabetical system. It's very interesting to see that 9/11 2001, like 01. So seeing that it's 10, like 9, 10, 11. But one more important thing I wanted to talk about is pi. It actually signifies about transformation. Because the number 6 and 7, that's actually echoing back to 767, that was a Pentecost this year. And I believe that could be the birthday of Enoch. And so 6 and 7, so 6 and 7, well, when you read it in the Roman numerical way, explained before that IV, like N is exploded as IV and M is exploded as IVI, and adds up to 6 and a 7. So back into the alphabetical chart, it's actually both M and N consists of 13 and 14, and therefore the Pi month in November is actually a transformation month. So I explained before about 122 and 722 in the past, but just to say it again, 122 is also November, and 722, that's a approximate pi calculation of 22 divided by 7, and so that's also related to November because because the identity of October gave it to November. I believe it's very significant when reading Matthew 27, verse 45. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And that is the 6 and 9 pattern again, and that's like going back to the Jewish June and the Gregorian September. So it's referring that to the 3 days, like the 6 days of darkness time frame. And November is merged with September because of the T3 relationship. So and therefore November would be the like as evidences are pointing to November. November would be the month, I believe, the month of the barley harvest, month of the barley transformation, because that would be T3 would be linked to the 6 and 9 pattern. And here in Song of Solomon chapter 2, very interesting to see that I mentioned about the apple tree in verse 3. And even though the like originally the forbidden tree in Genesis was not an apple tree, as from the according to the book of Enoch, it describes about the tree consists of fruits that resembles like grapes. So it was not quite like an apple tree, but apple tree, I believe, is also representing the forbidden tree of Adam and Eve. And here he mentioned about this, and later I'll get that later I'll explain about this, but what I found about the connection with 7-11. But anyway, it's very interesting to see that here in verse 5 talked about stay me with flagons, and the word flagons in the dictionary, it says a container similar to flagon used to hold the wine for the Eucharist. And the wine here even remind me about the blood of Christ and salvation, and the blood is the color red, and the chart I made here, the color red is 1 and a 7, and it's very significant because the number 1 and a 7 is actually back to T3, because T3 is July, and it's also January from Rosh Hashanah, and November consists of T3. So so as though referring November T3 as the month of salvation, because 1 and 7 is the color red, and 7 and 1, I believe that's also the same identity, and that's purple, and normally that represents the bride of Christ. And it's very interesting to see yellow and blue consists of the numbers 3 and a 5, and that reminds me about the 153 of the fishes that I've discussed before, but actually that also remind me about the IDs of March, because IDs of March 153, March 15, and yellow, that's the color fall, and blue, that is the color of the sea. And I know there are more like things that represent, but yellow like remind me about the transformation that would be within the fall quadrant, and the blue, that's the color of the sea, that remind me about the flood. Explain before that the flood is a worldwide was a worldwide destruction, and that symbolized the sixth seal and the great tribulation that is to come. But this is very interesting to see 153 also linked to the colors yellow and blue, as though the Ides of March is ready to fall and the flood. But in regard to the flood, the back here in verse 11, for lo, the winter is past, the rain is already gone. Well, that later I will want to talk about the winter time frame in Matthew 24, but the rain here is referring that the time of the first call is it's a time where rain will be out of the picture, and the rainfall rainfall here, as I been seeing, that the highest rainfall would be like from January to February, and that's pretty interesting. Is though referring to that next year, that next year would possibly not be the year, but it must be this year. The transformation and bride of Christ. So here in Genesis chapter 5, we can see that Enoch was taken away, he was translated, and he was the representation of the bride of Christ, who will be translated without tasting death. And so this event took place before the flood, as described in chapter 6. And so that's coming back to the Song of Solomon chapter 2, that the rain is over and gone. Like the rain representing the flood, so that's referring the time frame must be before January, like next year, but I believe there's a more specific time frame when we see in Matthew 24. So before talking about this, I believe that the rapture of the bride of Christ will possibly happen before Christmas. I believe that God could be taking back Christmas, and because Christmas is such a blasphemy, I believe, to God, and it's pagan holiday and celebration about Santa Claus and all these abominations, as not really God-centered. And so because of that, that got me thinking about the the season of bride, the season, the rapture of the bride of Christ. I mean, before the winter quadrant, when we see Matthew 24, chapter 24, verse 20 to 21. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world till this time, no, nor ever shall be. This also referring great tribulation will be the time frame within the winter quadrant. Maybe like the Great Tribulation will already be like during the time of the winter quadrant. That's referring to 22nd of December, around that time until around March next year. And so actually makes sense when we see the dates. 40 weeks pregnancy, like of the wheat broths, and the approximate pattern. So like having a approximate boundary in 10 November, I'm not like I'm not trying to date set, I've just been trying to see the boundary, like approximate boundary from the 10th of November, but so like the first call might be earlier than the 10th of November, but I'm just saying that well, from that day until the 22nd of December will be around 43 days. And that's actually a like pattern of the 40 weeks pregnancy, the 40 days ministry, approximate 40 days ministry of soul harvest before the rapture of the bride of Christ. The time of the Great Tribulation will be very be like hell on earth, because calamity will be like everywhere, and everything will be like in chaos, and just disasters upon disasters, and because of that that is still making the picture of a sorrowful Christmas, when like possibly when the Great Tribulation that will occur before the winter quadrant of the 22nd of December. Explain before that common eye song, which occurred in back in 2013 November, and that story came back till November this year, disaster month, and it was on a 28 of November, and 28 that remind me about the month she's found at 28, because the February from Russia and 8 as the Jewish August, because of the delay of 1 month, therefore the month history and Chusban will be overlapped together, um, and that is pretty interesting to see. The disaster number 28 is linked to the 1 in a 7 history. It's very interesting to see that the next new moon be on the 11th of November in Israel, and that's once again the 1111, and that's, I explained before, that's a the Pentecostal number, the set of 47, and I believe that could be still a deadline of the Pentecostal boundary, because I explained that would be from the 7 to 10. So here we are back in Psalm Solomon chapter 2 verse 12. The flowers appear in the earth, the time the singing of the birds is come, and the voice of turtle is heard in our land. And that is still referring to the spring quadrant. And because we're now in a fall quadrant, but at the same time it's also spring quadrant within that fall quadrant, because of the Rosh Hashanah. That's started on Tishrei, and Tishrei be like the January, and so because January is like part of the spring quadrant, and therefore is this spring quadrant to me it fits into the fall quadrant because of the January from Rosh Hashanah. Spring quadrant consists of the January, that's the Jewish January. They're like so that's another January on the Gregorian April. I explained before, but I just wanted to bring this back because it's very important to the pi. Because pi is the numerical value of the ratio of circumference of a circle to its diameter. And so, therefore, the rainbow, when you look from above, it's actually like a circle. And this actually referring back to pi, and rainbow symbolizes gay marriage, and pi is also like 9/11 style, like a pi judgment, linked to the gay marriage, like be read till the month of November because it's a pi month. And so this is the 7-Eleven logo. Just find pretty interesting to see that the EVE is sandwiched with the number 7, and because history is like a Jewish July, so this signifying that if, like explained before, that it's actually the Freeport shipwrecks, so that's linked to the number 7 Tishrei, and L is an abbreviation for elevation, and even EVEN, that's an abbreviation for evening, and that's like that's a synonym of night, darkness. So as though the elevation and darkness and three shipwrecks are pointing to number 7, Tishrei, and it's interesting to see the number 7 is exactly pointing to the 6 and 9 in the clock direction. And this once again a confirmation to what I explained about the 9/11 connection of the T3. So in Matthew 25, it talked about the midnight cry, and midnight is say 12 o'clock, and this I believe is another confirmation to Rapture in December. We can know the season, but no one knows the day and the hour except the Father.